And I think we are live. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again, or I don't know, glad to have you back. I guess you see you, but anyway.
Did you have another life before that, Benedict, that you didn't tell us about?
Well, super happy to be here again with amazing hosts and guests as usual. Today we're going to talk about the beauty of being and the beauty of doing nothing. It's funny because I was talking to Fred before we got live, and today I think it's a very, very appropriate topic for me because I decided to take my afternoon free. And actually, right before closing all my emails, everything is done, I got that guilt just coming up into myself. I was like, shoot, what's going on? And it was so funny because today we're obviously talking about how we're busy all the time, how our society is always, running behind time, how we are conditioned in a way that we are perceived to be, performing and good people if we are actually busy, and whenever we actually try to slow down and do nothing, usually it's associated to laziness. So I hope you'll be able to give me some tips and some stories and resources to help me figure out how I'll be able to really enjoy my afternoon today. It was an important topic for us as well because of everything that is happening right now with the COVID situation, and it was very, very fascinating to see how everyone was reacting to that. The fact to stay home still, some people got very busy, some people got, with nothing at all on their plate, and how everyone actually responded to that. So what we're gonna do before we actually dive into the topic is I'd love to break the ice with our guests. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Sasha Herman. She's based in Vancouver and she's an executive coach and leadership facilitator. Hello, Sasha.
Hello.
And then we have Aymeric Gogibus, who's based in Montpellier in France, and he's a Reiki teacher. He's a practitioner of yoga and Marma therapy, and he's also a writer. So welcome. So with Fred, we decided that it would be funny to have a kind of a random game just to get to know you a little better, because the whole point as well to do those lives is to create more self-awareness in the world in general, because we believe that more you're aware of yourself and better you can make decisions, and more you can be, on the right direction. So that's really the core of our initiative. And then around that topic of self-awareness, we decide on other topics such as the one of today. And so we're very curious to know how just being still and not doing anything could actually contribute to more self-awareness. So Sasha, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What motivates you to get up every morning?
My cup of tea, to be honest. I have the best tea ever from this small independent tea shop in Vancouver. So if there's anybody in Vancouver who wants to support local, and it's warm and it makes me really happy.
What is the name of the tea company?
The Baywater Tea Company on Baywater and Burrard, Broadway.
Thank you.
All organic.
Nice.
A new customer, guys. Aymeric, what's one thing you are deeply proud of in your life?
To have changed my life, to have taken decisions in order to find my own path.
Sasha, what's the most useless talent that you have?
Oh, that's hard. Is it inappropriate to say I don't that when I was in university, my party trick was that I could like roll really amazing joints, but like really big joints? That's the first thing that came to mind, because it's useless because I don't smoke anymore, which is just a personal decision.
But you can roll them
I
for
can still roll amazing joints. Yeah.
That's a nice one.
that. Aymeric, what do you love the most about yourself?
My equanimity.
Your what, sorry?
My equanimity.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little more?
Oh, okay, sorry. I like to be concise, you know, and brief. Basically, I think it's in my DNA, and it just took more and more space in me lately, and I have this ability to take things as they are. In fact, no judgment, and everything. You know, a joy is a joy, a pain is a pain, and but I understood that we have to accept both the same way, because they are going to affect us in different ways if we are in a mood and in a way that it takes way too much weight and place.
Okay, thank you. Sasha, what has been your best moment of this year so far?
Oh, I have a client who I was very intimidated by, titles and all that, and he we had a coaching session where he was vulnerable and just opened up, and seeing that was like the highlight, you know, just to, you know, to be able to connect with somebody on that real level. And I actually am doing my master's in therapeutic counseling as well, and I had class that afternoon, and because of the way he showed up and the way I was able to park all of my sort of like, oh my God, he's this person. It allowed me to then go into my heart in my class that afternoon, have a really transformative moment of my own. And that was a moment of heart on top of a moment of heart on top of a moment of heart. And that was my favorite moment of this year so far.
Congrats. Aymeric, what's the emotion you experience most of the time?
Most of the time, I think it's how can you say that in English, Fred? Émerveillement?
Oh. No, really. It's like AWE, to be in awe. It's just like looking at it, and like it's beautiful and sparkling. Yes. Oh wow, yeah. That's a nice one to have, like the most like
yeah, but it's not like in the business world, you know. It's oh
yes, you know, I understand that, to be in awe, but it's like
I try to have it every day, you know. At some point I'd like to, you know, it could be very simple things. In fact, it could be an animal crossing, a flower, or you know, just a moment of silence.
Yes, I think it's a practice too, so I really like it.
It is.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those personal insights with us. Now I'm very curious to know your own definition of self-awareness. What is it to you? How would you define it? Who wants to start?
I see Emery.
You want to start? Go for it.
Okay, well, I'll go. It's funny because, you know, when I think of self-awareness, given that I do so much leadership training, I think of it in terms of how I describe it to leaders. And it's like, there's 3 pillars to emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is pillar 1, you know, and it's a kind of an intellectual answer. But when I was checking in with myself on what does it actually mean to me, I think it's really understanding and and connecting to one's internal world. So, you know, there's everything happening outside of us. For me, it's what's going on inside me, and having a bit of and witnessing what's happening inside me. So not being so gripped by reaction all the time that I'm just, you know, reacting to everything default. So there's a level of consciousness where I'm like, oh, I can feel anger rising. That's self-awareness for me. Or, oh, I'm going into shame, you know, and just actually being connected to my feelings, and not that they then carry me away. I mean, sometimes yes. And that's, you know, but that I can sense what's happening so that I have more information, that I can make better choices. I've been going through, you know, a difficult time with a friend, and, you know, I'm feeling hurt, and it would be easy to blame and lash out and whatever. And I realized, oh, I'm in shame. I'm not actually upset with them. And to be able to then choose how I want to be, and choose love, and choose all that. So self-awareness for me is really that just deep connection to myself, and the ability to sort of be separate from it and witness what's happening within myself.
And so I guess for being able to do that, you have to be a little more in your being than in your doing.
You have to really be in the being. Yeah. And I'm a big doer, like being, and I think we'll get to that later. For me, like you know, you're talking about COVID, and in the first stages of COVID, I was like, oh, there's so much space and time, and I'm not traveling for work, and I, you know, all of these things, and oh, this is great. And it felt spacious and luxurious. And I'm actually amazed how busy and exhausted I am right now, because I've filled up all that time with doing. I found other ways of doing. And so being for me has to be a very deliberate thing, and we'll talk about that later. And yes, to be connected to one's internal world and to be in witness and be conscious, for me, means I have to find ways of sitting and being and not doing.
Great, thank you, Sasha. What about you, Aymeric? How would you define self-awareness?
It's a big question.
Yeah, we just 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Go for it.
I thought about it earlier today, and I took some notes. In the end, I think we can't separate self-consciousness from self-awareness. In fact, self-consciousness is a path to self-awareness. From a Buddhist point of view, self-awareness without a self leads to the mindful self. It's, I call it a mindfulness enlightened self. I don't know if you're following. Thich Nhat Hanh said that the self is made of non-self elements. And non-self elements are not under our control. We are humans. And what we can be aware of is the flow of the states we went through during the day, the processes and the conditions. And from a Buddhist point of view, self-awareness is not a goal in itself. And basically, Buddhism is not about developing the self, and it's not about finding our true self. It's because there is no self to be aware of in the first place. What we can be aware of is these flows of states, processes, and conditions we went through the day. I don't know if it's clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because there are more and more people doing personal development nowadays, and more people who are, you know, trying to get to know themselves better and to get closer to that self-awareness. But when listening to you, it feels like those people are not in their being at all when they do that. They're still in their doing. I'm doing my self-awareness. I'm trying to get to know who I am, but again, by doing stuff and not necessarily just by, you know, being in the perspective that you're sharing with us. Yeah. Fred, would you like to share your definition of self-awareness?
It's actually like it's difficult, self-awareness too, because like to give a one definition, because I totally agree with Aymeric. And there is no self. So it's difficult to talk about like self-awareness. And I think that it's more like being present and witnessing it, like you say, Sasha, too, and just like feeling and being in your body, and also like being aware of like your breathing, for example, and like how you being very present and how do you manage the world around you. But also I think it's also important to know your body, to know like your character, because it helps you to do more, and but also to enjoy the life better, to understand yourself better. And it is in one way a quest in your life, self-awareness, and brings that into your client is so important too, because it grows. But I have the feeling that at the end of the quest there is nothing. And Aymeric, I don't know if you know like shunyata, and it's like a state of like nothing. There is nothing. And but in the meantime, I think self-awareness is like a beautiful gift to enjoy the path. But at the end, for me, life is only energy. So of course, I've got like many different way of seeing self-awareness. But as a practitioner, it's like a beautiful gift that's unwrapped, and I would like the people to really be curious about knowing themselves and loving themselves, and self-awareness is about that too. But it has so many layers, self-awareness, so many layers. But I think it's very aligned with today is being. It's like being comfortable with yourself and looking at yourself, feeling your body, feeling your energy, and just be okay with that. So that would be my definition.
So it's interesting because, you know, you were talking about being it a gift, you know, it's offered to us, it's there, but still it's so hard to stay in that posture. So I'm just wondering why are we so much, you know, doing all the time? What are we scared about? What are we trying to fulfill by just doing? Who'd like to build on?
Sorry. I think it's not a fixed state. We are continually finding out about ourselves, and it's not how can I say that? I can put it. It's like a stream. It's always changing. Because we are changing at every second. We are changing through our relationships, and I don't know, we are constantly interacting with our environment from an energetic point of view, for instance. So awareness of this flow and this change, it is what brings us a sense of humility and compassion. And it's a way for us to see our human nature, and we have to be aware that everything is not going to be constant. Once again, it's linked with equanimity. We can see when they arise, and we have to accept them, treat them, deal with them, and accept the change. Here it is.
I love what you're saying, and I really hear a lot of, you know, that surrender and that witnessing and that presence, and that it's constant changing, and the awe that can be in that, right? And that observing of, wow, look what is happening, and the exchange of energy and what's being created at all times. And I think more pragmatically, you know, when I observe the experiences of myself and around doing versus being, right? I talk, you know, I think about the clients. A lot of the time it's very uncomfortable to accept that there's constant change for people, I think. And that a lot of it's doing is rooted in the fear and the and fear drives the desire to control. And I think when we do, we feel like we are creating control, or we have control, because and that helps alleviate the fear. And what you're saying, Aymeric, I love, like I've connected to what you've described, and I've also been in fear, like I've been in both places. And to find that wonder is such a powerful shift away from the fear. And that's when I find when I can go to wonder personally, and awe and observation, that's when I'm more connected to my being. That's when the greater, you know, that's when I slow down. That's when I can see the world for all its, you know, wonderment. And fear is a very contagious thing that I have to manage all the time. And that's where I think the doing comes from, is that place of fear.
Mm-hmm. Right. Very true.
Yes, Fred.
I think also that I agree. Like the doing is fear, and it's also like very brave to stay silent, and still it's very brave. But it's also like self-awareness is a powerful tool in that case, because I'm a little bit rebellious there, but I would say that in our culture, doing is a virtue, where being is a waste of time, and like it's something so ingrained in our it's so ingrained in our like culture, and you have that guilt by doing nothing, and it's like has a it's like a little bit sometimes concerning that idleness is seen as laziness and negative, where like doing and working it's so positive. And I think that just like breaking a little bit of that, of the flow of what we are like raised with, and just having the self-awareness, and just to ask tiny bit space, is it true? Is it true for myself that this afternoon is like something where I should like work, and or not just like gaze at the window and be happy about it, and that's it. And even if like we also have that sense that you need to be perfect to relax. Like I need to do everything first, and then I can relax. I need to have that amount of money in my bank account, and then I can relax and take my holidays. But you arrive in your holidays and you are totally like, so, and that's why I think that self-awareness is so important, just to look at yourself and have that space to question, like, is it true? But it requires a break. And also just awareness of seeing that, look around and see there is so many people who also put that in your head, and it's not necessarily true. Maybe not for you, and your neighbors might have like a totally different point of view than you. And I've got like I've got a book that it's a tiny essay about Bertrand Russell, and it's called In Praise of Idleness. And he explained that in 1932 that he could see that work was a virtue, and it will link to workaholism, and actually you will be careful, that's a label there, like overconsumption, because when you do, you consume, and it's great. So that's it. I will send like the PDF is, because it's 1932, the PDF is for free. It's 45 pages and it's extremely interesting. So yeah. And I would like just to add something. It's just like, if you have any question, I can see that there's people who begin to ask questions, and please ask more questions about the theme. I will like answer them at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Fred. Building on that, do you have any story of your own, or maybe of one of your clients, where actually just being in their being really supported them, or really created something new for them at a specific moment of their life. Anything you'd like to tell us to really illustrate that?
Dun, dun, dun.
And we're beginning now.
I mean, I think about my favorite moments with myself, for myself, and with my clients is when we're not strategizing, planning. It's so interesting to watch. I had somebody yesterday who came with some very devastating news, and this client, it didn't take long, but was really resistant to talking about it. There was a big smile and it's fine and all the reasons why it's going to be okay and no big deal, but you could feel the emotion happening underneath. And I think giving myself permission to actually have the experience of life, helping clients to have the experience of life, because, you know, we don't give ourselves permission to slow down and be. I actually know exactly what you mean about the guilt around not doing, you know. Just a sidebar, my favorite thing to do in the summer is get up early, go for a swim at the outdoor pool, which is not going to happen this year, but, you know, come home and then I'm tired. And then in the middle of the afternoon, I want to nap. For years, I wouldn't let myself nap. Why? Because that is not a good use of a summer day. You should go out and see friends, whatever. And then I finally said, but I want to nap. And then with the patio doors open, napping in the middle of a Saturday afternoon in the summer has become the most luxurious and most wonderful and uplifting and fulfilling thing that I do in the summer. I absolutely love it. But it was riddled with guilt in the early days, and I had to really give myself permission. And to circle back, sometimes it's hard for ourselves to give permission. Sometimes I think the beauty of working with practitioners is to find that partnership and that permission together and be encouraged to have the permission to really slow down and to have the experience of life. And yesterday, when this person finally let herself just be in it and to have it and to let it, it was painful, but it was beautiful for both of us, right? Because we're connected to our aliveness, to our experience of life. And those are my favorite moments. It's not that being necessarily creates promotions. I mean, I'm sure it does that too, but it's that all of a sudden you get to have the experience of your life. And those are my favorite moments.
Thank you, Sasha. Aymeric, anything to share around that?
Yeah, it rings a bell about the Reiki treatment. For instance, in Reiki, from my point of view, and it's once again, it's my story, it's my own way of practicing. It's not a doing thing. In fact, it's a being thing. You have to be Reiki. It means it starts with you, and it flows through you to the other people and to the other person. And so yeah, it's not you don't have to wait for something. You're not expecting a result. You're not willing to act on somebody. You're just there in a moment.
And how do you, because we are talking about being today, but doing is also important, obviously, in our world, in our life. How can you find the right balance between the being and the doing? Do you have any tools, anything that you do or that you recommend to your clients to really find what works for them when they are not too much in the doing and sometimes not too much in the being as well, because we also need to create things?
So it's only going to be for me because I'm not a life coach. So all these rules are in fact only for my own equilibrium and my own well-being. And doing, I don't have a feeling that I have to do things. Except for all the states obligations, and we have to, as a citizen, we have some rights, and we also have some duties. But from my personal point of view and my own life, I don't I don't think I live by rules. In fact, I just try to live by the flow and feel the moment and okay, I'm tired and I'm gonna have a nap. And I have some appointments and so have to get kind of regularity and organization, a specific organization, because I'm not living I'm not living like a monk or on my mountain or in my cave, but yeah, I just I try the more I can, and I try to go through life only by vibrations.
Mm. Yeah, it's what I do myself is I usually ask myself if I have to do it or if I want to do it. And if I want to do it, then I would tend doing this rather than what I have to do. And when it falls under what I have to do, then I question myself a second time, like, is it really important? What does it really mean to have to do something? If I don't do it, is it really going to change something or not? So that's my trick. What about you, Sasha?
It made me think of a question that I was given by a very wise, very connected, I call him my shaman, but he said to me, because I'm inclined to doing. So I think there's an inclination, some people have inclination to doing and other people have an inclination to being. And I think you do personal opinion, there needs to be a balance, because doing allows creation. So when we're doing it from a place of alignment and our deepest wisdom and our purpose, and those are big things. Purpose doesn't have to be your life goal, the life thing you were meant to do, but anything that pulls us forward. But creating is life force, it's vitality. I think as humans, that's part of what we need to be creating. So the doing is important. I think you need beingness to help connect you to what is the doing that I'm most, that I'm meant to be doing. And the question that he gave me to ponder is, if I was free in this very moment, which we are always free in every moment of our life, but we have these ideas that we're not, and but if I was free in this very moment, what would I choose to do? And for me, that was very profound, because it's like, I have a plan for my day and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work on this and but if I stop in the moment and go, if I were completely free right now, what would I choose to do? It just opens up so much more to me. I go, you know what, I would like to take a nap right now, or I'd like to stare at the trees. But if for me, similar to, is it, do I have to or do I want to? But if I was free, if there were no constraints, and that just opens up a different part of the brain, neurologically speaking, but it opens up my soul and lets me access something a little bit different. And that's a good gauge for me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sasha. What about you, Fred? How do you approach that?
I'm not very, very good at it, honestly. I'm not super good. I am extremely lucky with Reiki, because it actually helped me a lot in just being, because I love doing so much that I forgot to be. And I learned that actually creation comes, of course, with doing, but it comes a lot with being. And that part I didn't know. And so I was not sure about that. And now I can see that actually when I just don't take time to just be, nothing really flourish for me anymore. And that's the creativity comes from a lot from being. But it took me so long to really see that. And I have like one of my very dear friend and Reiki teacher too. It just he was explaining to me, he's a big doer, he's multi-potential too, and he just like have many things that you do in the same time. And so but he said the most important things to do is actually like to do nothing during the day, because and he said by nothing we mean nothing, because I also like guide meditation, and people will think that doing nothing and meditating is the same, and it's not at all. It's not the same. So it's just like really allowing a space, a container to just do nothing. Not the same than meditation or introspection, actually. And so he said like you are a battery and you really need that time to recharge yourself where you do nothing. And the most important thing that I do today is not doing my 30 minutes of exercise, even if he does, but it's really doing nothing. And I try to do that now. So there's like before the virus, there was like that, I was in a working space where there's a chair, and I would just like force myself at the beginning because it's not natural at all. And I will put the curtain around and just like lay down and do nothing. And it's incredible what happened after that. First, extremely big, uncomfortable position for me. But because I will not even do Reiki, because it's my tool too. I'm like, oh, that's fine, I'm gonna do Reiki. I'm like, no, you do nothing. And it was like fantastic. So I think a reminder to that, actually it takes some practice as everything else to do nothing, and preparing the time to have that space. Have that space, like actually planning to not do things is a super tool. Just like, you know, if you want to do physical exercise the day before, the day before, the day after, say the day before, I will prepare my clothes and put it on my chair, and it will like, when I wake up, I'm like, oh, I already did that, so I will like exercise. I think that actually planning a time to do really nothing and put away your screen, put away your phone, your computers, have like fluffy pillow and a good environment, and prepare that. And your mind, you trick your mind. It's like, oh, it's going to be comfortable at just doing it, and own it too. Just like saying like to your friend, instead of saying, oh, I'm busy, say, yeah, I'm going to do nothing, and be proud of it, like a child. Yes, it's actually like from a therapist who is like specialized in boredom. And she's like, it's funny because with Benedict we make some research for the topic of today, and we found the same article from the New York Times, and she made a book about that, like how to enjoy boredom. I don't remember, it's Device, Balancing Life and Technology in a Digital World. So it's and it's a really good book, and she explained like how to do nothing, and like it has a name called Nixon in for the Dutch, and it's the art of doing like nothing. And she said like, yes, plan it, own it, just say to your friends and be proud about it that yes, I'm gonna do nothing, because we all know that we have that guilt. It's again that guilt. It's like, what are you doing? And you say, oh yeah, I'm busy. So it's like, yeah, own it. And also, well, I have to find that, but she like recommend boredom parties with friends. So so basically you invite your friends, you have no screen, and you just enjoy time and look. Well, for me, I just go camping and look at the stars, and I'm very happy about that. And I watch a fire because I'm in Canada and we can do that. But you are just with the bears around you, but that's fine. So, but she really incites herself to do boredom parties, and I thought it was so funny. Like, boredom parties.
I'm so inspired. Can I just say that growing up, my favorite thing was to lie in the grass and either look at the clouds changing shape or under the trees and watch the thing. And now I'm going to go and do that today. So thank you. Yeah, because I know exactly what you're talking about. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's so nice, and just it's so much more like inducing of productivity. It's just a bit of meditation where you just let go of everything and obligation, and you have that raise of creativity that come, and it's a problem solver.
Yeah, I've experienced it, and back to my definition of self-awareness, my internal world is like buzzing and vibrating with excitement and like truth. There's truth in what you're saying, and my body's saying that's wise, that's some wisdom right there. I'm gonna go and do it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Sasha.
It's funny because we still use the expression "let's do nothing." So it's doing. So I'm like having an inner conflict right now where I'm like, So when I say that, am I doing or am I being? So yeah, I think we should try to express it differently. Am I being looking at the clouds and I don't know. When do you know it's time for you to stop? And when do you know it's time for you to be more in your being?
I mean, for me, it's really evident. And it's like the chatter. Like for me, there's two different sets of voices that I have. I have like the monkey mind, it can be referred to, but it's like the clang, you should do, have you done? What about this? And then I have this, and when that's happening, I know that I'm out of balance. And what I love is that there's a deeper voice, which is when I can find the tools or, lie under a tree. Meditation is one tool, but I really appreciate that meditation, thank you for underlining that, is different than doing nothing. And I know the experience, I've had the experience of both. And when I can settle into staring out the window and looking at the treetops or whatever it is, I hear this other sets of voices. Like it's like a low, like whisper of, and that's where the creativity comes from. It's like the knowledge, the wisdom, the just the knowing, like the deep knowing. And I can't hear that because I'm not with that when this is going crazy. So for me, to answer your question, when I'm tired, and right now I feel tired, I've been in overdoing for sure. And it's loud. It's loud in my head. And their vibration is frenetic. It's like a high vibration. It's not like a low, grounded, slowed down, present vibration.
You, Aymeric?
For me, I'm a zebra, and I have my a kind of popcorn brain, and it was used to be really exhausting a couple of years ago, and I learned to deal with it and to control it, because it was controlling me. And it was like it's like a cup of tea, in fact, always full. There is no space to taste a different tea. You have to empty the cup first to fill it again. And when I feel that my brain is full, I just sit and do nothing. In Zen Buddhism, there is a concept. It's called shikantaza. It's called just sitting. And the core idea of this practice, it's while total awakening is always there in our mind and body at every moment, we have, as modern human beings, we have trouble noticing or contacting it. And and one of the main blockage that gets in the way is the sense of being a doer. We have to do. We're in a society where we have to do things to exist, to be. And doership is a core of the sense of the self, and it's for me the hurt of the ego, and we have to get rid of it. We have to let go the sense of effort, the sense of trying, the sense of choosing, the sense of doing. So just sit there and do nothing. Don't even think. Try with a white wall, like Zen Buddhism. It's very efficient. Because even in when you're meditating, sitting with eyes open, unconsciously, your eyes are still judging, comparing, and your mind is always on the run, So just either close your eyes, but it's not the easiest way to close your eyes, because there's something else starts in your brain. So I think the white wool is pretty efficient.
I'll keep that in mind and we'll give it a try for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all those insights, sharing ideas. I think it's gonna be your turn, Fred, to take over. And do we have any questions for our speakers? What do people want to know? You're on mute, I think, Fred.
Yeah, there was like lots of trucks around in my street, so I didn't want you to enjoy that sound with me. So yes, we have a question, and it likes from Maud, and I have hi Maud, and thank you for being here. And she's interested about having tools to switch between do and be. So is there anybody who would like to, who has some tools to switch between like doing and being? Dene, do you have one? Yes.
Me, the doer? Let me think about it.
Well, I've heard us name a few, and I don't know if we want to add some already today. We talked about Benedict and I both sort of have an inquiry, right, that we give ourselves. You know, do I need to or do I want to? Or if I was free in this moment, what would I choose to do? And that can help at least check in and get present with what's going on. You know, I love this block time in your calendar if you have to, or set a habit around doing nothing. That's like I had that as like one of the things I do is I have to block time to force myself to get into it because I get resistant to being. But once I'm in it, I love it. But like, you know, so block time, I heard. Giving ourselves permission is one that I think is just fundamental. It's like having that conversation with ourselves that this is in service of us. And like I had to give myself permission to have a nap, which seemed like a small thing, but it was transformational. And then, and like that's my favorite day of the week, you know? So those are the ones that I heard us say. I don't know if there's any others, but those are the ones.
Yeah, no, it's a very good summary. I think so too. And I hope that Maud like has like some more. I think we can, like she's happy with the answers. And and I think also just like with the self-awareness, so check with your body. And I agree, like Sasha, you talk about like you've got like the monkey mind and some pressure, and it's a good time to just like, maybe I need to just like stop. I like also like it's not doing nothing, but now I implement walks where like I'm at work, and instead of just like doing so many things and like having 8 hours of work while I'm in front of my computer and I'm like, I just like have walks and I just relax. And having like a place, I think it's good knowing where you could do nothing, and maybe go camping if you can, go by the sea if you can, just find a bit of nature if you can, and just like enjoy. And I think that yes, Maud is like saying thank you. So our mission is done. She's happy. Thank you, Maud. Yes.
I'd like to add on that also maybe the concept of celebration, and just, you know, celebrating the fact that you were able to be more in your being than you're doing, and really acknowledging that for yourself. You know, that's what you were saying earlier, Fred, when you're I own it, I'm proud of doing nothing, and so I'm celebrating it as well.
Yes, celebration is a big part of the process of doing in some way. It's the end. It's like the little push of sparkle at the end, and celebrate what you just did. And it gives you so much energy for the next one. But I like the celebration part, of course. And also, like, what did you say, Benedict?
To people for nothing.
Yes.
You know, I know you're working on me too, so that's why.
Okay, I see. And God, I forgot my thoughts, of course. I think also like I like the idea of for just being of a little bit of tricking your mind, because I think by planning, actually planning and having there's an also article that I read from Forbes and like basically on Forbes and just like explain that yes, his personal time he will like do exactly the same than his business time and he will plan that. It will just be a container though, so it will just like having those 2 to 3 hours where he will do nothing, but he doesn't know what would happen in those. But I think that is totally tricking the mind, and it's great for doers and more like mental people because it's accepting. It's like it's I have exactly the same thing, and I'm a big doer, and I go like in every direction. I think I have a popcorn mind too, Aymeric. so it's just like it's like basically you are giving yourself some permission and the mind is like, oh yeah, I know, I've got a sense of control of what's gonna happen, so I'm okay, and you're accepting it. So you make a little bit of a contract because the idea of being, the mind cannot really grasp it because it's actually not the work of the mind, it's the work of something that's more like center. So it's just like it's a little bit of a panic here. It cannot grasp the concept of it. So trick the mind just by like talk about the container and not what is inside, and you're gonna be fine. So it's kind of, we are more into a mental society. So I think if you go to Asia, it depends on where in Asia, of course, but in Thailand, they don't have the same, where I lived for 7 years, they don't have at all the same point of view on it, because for most of people, they're like doing like not being mental all the time is very, very easy because it's in also education. So here we go. And so I would like I think that we don't have any more questions. We've got more people looking, and hi. But I would like to just like talk about like working at home. Sasha and Aymeric, do you work at home right now? Did you work at home during the virus?
Mm-hmm.
And did you work at home before that? Is it something new? So. And how did you manage to balance your personal life with your business life? How do you know that it's like, how do you have like a good sense of boundaries between what is personal and what is business at home? Maybe Sasha, you can begin.
It is an amazing question. It's an amazing question because I am still struggling with it, and because I see it as the most commonly cited issue that people are having right now. Whereas people before were like, the commute is killing me. Now they're missing their commute because it was a mental transition time. It was time to themselves in the car to do nothing sometimes, or to whatever. And I do struggle with it because as an entrepreneur, there's a million things I could always do. And having the boundaries is harder. Now, I will say I was granted a gift where I've been cohabitating with my significant other, and he has 3 kids. So with the 3 kids, it got easier because I said, okay, at 4 o'clock, I'm done. I take them outside and we play whatever. And so that was a really good catalyst to force me to say, okay, and I'm going to not block time between 11 and 1, because that's when I'll make lunch and that's when I'll sit with them. And I think it's just it's having boundaries with ourselves. And it's like we create a container for doing nothing. It's creating a container and say, this is when I'm going to, for me, what's working is this is when I'm going to work. And it's just a hard line. I'm not going to work after this time. I'm going to protect Saturdays, whatever the things that I have to do.
Oh.
I'm sure there are other better ways, but that's what I've had to do, is to just be firm with my boundaries with myself.
I like it. What about you, Aymeric? Do you have like a sense that you need to have like a boundaries between personal and business life? Is it mixing? Like, how do you experience it?
I kept Monday, Saturday, and Sunday for my own, and for the rest of the week, I just listen to myself. I worked for 2 months. So I worked for my business life. I had a couple of hours per day for my business life, and the rest of the time it was for me, because once again I took time to write my books and discover a new way to play with life, and discover things on myself, and so it was a really great time for me.
Oh,
Really
thank
interesting
you.
one.
Thank you. That's fantastic that you have like those days for yourself. I actually finally on myself, I did a lot of things during that time of virus, and lots of new things, including what we are doing today. To be honest, before that, people will say that I was always in the shadow and not being into the light. So doing video, I would have never done that. And it gave me the push to okay, I will do it. And so it gave me lots of opportunities. But I also make that Sunday totally off, because I have different things that I do, and I teach also Reiki, and weekend is very good for that. But I actually end up doing things every day. And it's ooh, that's not good. I don't want to go back. Before I learned Reiki and I was totally exhausted and burn out, and I needed to just learn Reiki. I'm no, I'm not gonna do that. And especially that I am telling to people you need to relax. So I am okay, yeah, you look at yourself, baby. But so thank you for sharing that. And we have a last comment that I really like from Yulia, and she said, I like how after talk about tricking the mind, thank you, Yulia, I know what it is to feel guilty for doing nothing, because I am a writer and a poet, and who reads much poetry these days when the society is driven by success, money, and reaching goals. So do you agree on that actually reaching goals and doing it the primary drive of the society? Sasha?
I do. It's funny because I'm probably one of the only executive and leadership coaches who refuses to do goal setting with my clients. Yeah, I will talk about intentions and what is it that's important to you and what do you want to create, but I will not set goals, and I will not be a success coach, and that's not what we're talking about here. And for many, many reasons, which is probably a whole other conversation, because I think we're over-focused. To use business language, we're over-indexed in the goals and the doing, and there's no alignment.
Oh, I really like that. I see super interesting. I will connect with you to know more about that, because we don't have time, but oh yes. And I think that focus is a little bit the opposite of awareness, where awareness is big and focus is tiny.
Yes.
And so, and the same way that in Buddhism that you focus on the path and not the goal, I think that we focus a bit more on the goal and what happened after, except the celebration that I still love. But
I love, by the way, what did you say? It's support it with some sparkle. I love whatever you said, the sparkle. I was I like it. I like it. Celebration.
Yes, I love sparkles. I love champagne and I love sparkles and bubbles.
Yes.
Okay, so Benedict, I think we're arriving at the end of our time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Afternoon of being and doing nothing, starting now. I will think of you and all your, again, great insights. And it was a pleasure seeing you. It was a pleasure meeting you, Aymeric, seeing you, Sasha. We need to catch up.
I would love that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks to all four of you. And thanks everybody that was here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.